Well, hello and good evening. Thank you for taking the time to join PSAC members across the Atlantic region in a discussion about some critical issues for our union, in particular Bill C-4, which I think a lot of you know is the government's latest omnibus budget bill that has unfortunately now become law. So the contents of this bill are aimed at radically reducing our rights as federal public sector workers. Our union challenged this bill head-on in the late fall, and now we're developing a plan that's going to lead us through the next round of bargaining and up to the next federal election. My name is Gabby Levesque. I'm the Atlantic Regional Coordinator, and I'll be hosting tonight's telephone town hall meeting. It's a real pleasure to be here. This telephone town hall is kind of a mix between a big conference call and a radio talk show. So it's meant to give you information that you need about the changes Bill C-4 has made to the Public Service Labor Relations Act, but it's also to inform you about the things that we as a union are doing to fight back. And just like a talk show, you're going to be able to ask questions live on the air. So for those of you on the phone, you've got an important role to play tonight. If you have a question, you just press *3 on your phone and let us know you'd like us to ask a question. Okay, we're going to do that again. You're going to ask us a question live on this call. Okay, so tonight we have several guests with us to help us understand what changes were made by Bill C-4, what they're going to mean to you, and they're here to answer your questions. So first we're going to hear from PSAC National President Robin Benson, followed by PSAC Regional Executive Vice President Jeannie Baldwin. In addition to Robin and Jeannie, we've got some experts here to answer technical questions around collective bargaining, and particularly health and safety. Julie Chiasson is a research officer at PSAC's Collective Bargaining Branch, and she's the one to ask about what changes to the Public Service Labor Relations Act are going to mean as we prepare for our next round of collective bargaining. PSAC National Health and Safety Officer Jeff Benny is also with us to answer questions about the impact Bill C-4 is going to have on the health and safety of workers in both public and private sectors. So once again, just press *3 on your phone to let us know you'd like to ask a question live on this call. You'll also have an opportunity to leave your comments and additional questions in a message at the end of the call. So for those of you who have just joined the call, this is Gabby Levesque from PSAC, and I'm your host for tonight's telephone town hall, where we're calling PSAC members across the Atlantic region. So right next, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, PSAC National President Robin Benson.
Well, thanks so very much, Gabby, and thanks to everyone for joining us on the phone tonight and spending part of your Wednesday evening with us. Bill C-4 is really all about making it easier for the government and Treasury Board to come after us in the next round of bargaining and to strip away our long-standing negotiated rights. It changes the federal labor law to undermine the democratic right of public sector workers to bargain collectively. These amendments roll back the state of labor relations, quite frankly, 30 years by giving the employer even more power in the workplace. The law is unreasonable and unfair. We know from experience that when both parties sit down and negotiate fairly, it leads to a better result for both our members and for the public. And in addition to taking away the rights of his employees, Minister Clement has repeatedly denigrated our work and used every opportunity to question our dedication, our honesty, and our commitment to serving the public. And quite frankly, we deserve greater respect from this government, our employer. I met with Mr. Clement shortly after the bill was tabled. I met with him to voice our outrage at the gutting of our rights. And it was a very, very interesting meeting, brothers and sisters, because he said point blank that he didn't believe in consultation and that he was doing this to make it easier for collective bargaining and, quite frankly, to take away our sick leave in this next round. He's doing this because we've been effective and we have won. We won a major policy grievance on alternation, and we've been challenging the government in the media. We got EI benefits for laid-off workers. We've won in the courts, for example, on pay equity, the vote on the border services. And really, that's why this government is working to stack the deck in their favor and not ours. Over the last couple of years, when the government has cut services and jobs across the federal public service, we've taken strong action. We've been out in the media, we've been in the workplace, we've been in the communities to defend PSAC members and the services that they provide to Canadians. One example of our campaigns is to keep the Veterans Affairs offices open. And you know that there's 3 offices that are scheduled for closure in the Atlantic. And I have to thank from the bottom of my heart all the members who have participated in this campaign. The rally in Sydney during Remembrance Day weekend with over 3,000 people from the community was truly, truly inspiring. If we build a united front like the folks in Sydney did, this government will not be able to get away with their constant attacks against public sector workers. When we come together, we're a strong, unified front, and we need to make it clear that we oppose any legislation that aims to weaken our rights. Bill C-4 isn't game over, it's game on, quite frankly. The PSAC will not allow the government to use this law to strip away our rights. We're going to defend our collective agreement rights, regardless of whether or not the government stacks the deck against us. But we can only do that by sticking together and making sure that each and every one of us are on side. We need to come together. We need to demonstrate that we're not going to accept these changes without a fight. Now, I look forward to your ideas tonight about how we can work together to protect our rights going forward. So I will pass it back to Gabby. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Robin. So that was PSAC National President Robin Benson. You can ask her any question you like live on air during this telephone town hall. All you have to do is press *3 on your phone. And for those of you just joining us, welcome to this telephone town hall. We're aiming to give you the information you need about the recent omnibus budget bill, Bill C-4, which has now become law, and more particularly how it affects you. So right now we're being joined on the call by over 2,000 PSAC members from across the Atlantic region. So we're going to give you questions live on air in just a couple of minutes. But before we do, we're going to hear from our Regional Executive Vice President, Jeannie Baldwin. Jeannie's going to tell us a little about how our members have been mobilizing around workers' rights.
Thanks, Gabby. I want to recognize the hard work of the members here on the phone tonight during the very short period between the first reading of Bill C-4 on October the 22nd and when it received royal assent on December the 12th. Many of you went right to your MPs with letters, you requested meetings, and some of you lobbied senators. At the national level, our union acted fast by publicly defending collective bargaining rights and the right to work in health and safe workplaces. We also work closely with the Canadian Labour Congress and lobbied members on the Hill of Parliament. PSAC also joined forces with 17 other federal unions to launch a court challenge on the constitutionality of the Bill C-4. Now, I want to say a few words about bargaining. Changes to the Public Service Relations Act now allow the employer to serve notice to bargain 12 months before the expiry date of the collective agreement. So we are actively preparing for this round of bargaining. Our National Bargaining Conference for Treasury Board groups will take place in February and for Parks Canada in March. These conferences will bring together members to discuss and prioritize bargaining demands, and we also will be electing our bargaining team members. In spite of the changes to the Public Service Labor Relations Act, our union remains committed to defending collective agreements and workers' rights in the next round of negotiations. Our bargaining proposals will aim to protect and enhance public services, and we will not accept concessions. We will be guided by the principle that unions are a force for a positive change, not only for our members, but for future generations of workers and Canadians. Back to you, Gabby.
Thanks, Jeannie. So remember to get in line if you have a question that you'd like to ask. You can ask any question during this telephone town hall by pressing *3 on your phone. So the other kind of neat thing that we can do on this call is have a poll. So we have over 2,000 of our members on the phone right now, and so let's do a quick poll, and we'll show you how it works. So I'm going to read you a statement, and you're going to let us know what you think about that. So here's our first poll. The Conservative government has shown little respect for the services of our members and other federal public workers and the work of federal public sector workers. They've cut thousands of jobs affecting crucial programs and services, and now they've moved to undermine our bargaining rights, health and safety protections through this omnibus budget bill. So they continue to use attacks on public service workers to divert attention from the scandals and the real impact of the cuts to public services. So here's the question. What would you do to keep your rights and benefits? So listen to all 5 options and then press the button. So press 1 if you would talk with your family and friends about what the Conservatives are doing. Press 2 if you would contact your MP by phone, email, or in person. Press 3 if you would talk with your coworkers and ask them to get involved. Press 4 if you would do all of these things, and press 5 if you would not take action. So once again, the 5 options are in terms of what you're prepared to do about the government's actions against the public sector. Press 1 if you talk with your family and friends about what the Conservatives are doing. Press 2 if you'd contact your MP by phone, email, or in person. Press 3 if you talk with your coworkers, ask them to get involved. Press 4 if you do all of these things. And press 5 if you wouldn't take any action. So thanks for taking a quick poll. We're going to hear now briefly from Julie Chiasson, the Research Officer with the Collective Bargaining Branch, to discuss changes to the Public Service Labor Relations Act that will impact your bargaining rights in the upcoming round of collective bargaining, which is beginning in 2014. Once again, if you want to ask a question to Julie or anyone else on this call, press *3 on your phone. Julie, over to you.
Thanks, Gabby. Good evening to everyone on the phone. Free collective bargaining is an essential democratic right and a cornerstone of effective labor relations. This right was recognized in 2007 by the Supreme Court as a protected right. Having the power to strike can lead to collective agreement disputes being settled much more quickly, and it is an important part of our right to free collective bargaining. The employer has an enormous amount of power at the bargaining table. Having the right to go on strike provides unions with the bargaining power required to achieve fair settlement. Bill C-4 will give the federal government the unilateral right to designate employees as essential. The bill also says that if 80% or more of the employees of a bargaining unit are essential, the bargaining unit can't take strike action. We can therefore anticipate that the government will use this new power to greatly expand the number of employees who are essential, thereby significantly restricting the right to strike. The right to collective bargaining, by definition, must include the right to strike or access to a fair and impartial third-party arbitration system when bargaining reaches an impasse. This new bill will limit the right to strike and at the same time change the rules of arbitration such that it is neither fair nor impartial. Back to you, Gabby.
Thanks, Julie. That was Julie Chiasson, one of PSAC's research officers, and you can ask Julie a question by pressing *3 on your phone. So here's the results of our poll. So 12% of you on the call, and remember we have over 2,000 people on the call right now and people are still joining us, 12% would talk with their family and friends about what the Conservatives are doing, which is great. 5% of you would contact your MP by phone, email, or in person. 15% of you would talk with your coworkers and ask them to get involved, which is great in terms of the one-on-one campaign that a lot of you may have participated on in the workplace already. And the great news is that 63% of you would do all of these things. So 95% of you out there are prepared to take action to protect our rights. 5% of you are indicating that you wouldn't take action, but it's probably because you haven't got enough information to do so yet. So we're going to take some questions from callers. First of all, we're going to take a question from Dean in Dartmouth. Dean, go ahead.
Yes, I'm just wondering, I've heard you talk about your involvement regarding the federal government's proposal to close the offices in Sydney, Cape Breton regarding the Veterans Affairs. And I'm just a little bit not confused, but I'm wondering about the details regarding you and your involvement to make sure that doesn't happen.
That's great. Jeannie?
Thanks, Jean. In the Atlantic region, though, that we've had the veterans video. I'm not quite sure if you have seen that. We have shown that from coast to coast to coast. We've met with a lot of the MPs. We had the rally in Sydney. We just had Peter Stouffer that was in PEI last Friday, had a town hall meeting talking to the general public and also to elected officials in the municipalities about what this cut means. We've met with politicians also in the Newfoundland Labrador region. As you know, the office in Corner Brook has also been slated to close. The unfortunate part about it is that we have noticed now the Conservatives had made deals, which is now asking veterans to go to Service Canada to receive that service. And we know right now that because of the cuts within Service Canada, they're not able to provide that service. So we're out there to the forefront trying to do everything we can, but we also need assistance from you and all the public to help us in this fight, because this fight is not just our fight, it's everybody's fight.
Thanks, Jeannie. So while we sort out a couple more questions from callers out there, we're going to do another quick poll. Here's what we'd like you to think about. The government is suggesting an overhaul of public service sick leave. This shouldn't come as news to anybody. Treasury Board President Tony Clement has been making all sorts of claims about sick leave use and abuse and absenteeism without any facts whatsoever to back up those claims. Here's our question to you. We want to know how important this issue is for you. So press 1 if it's very important and you want to fight to keep your sick leave benefits. Press 2 if it's somewhat important to you, but you are open to negotiations on sick leave. Press 3 if you're not concerned about changes to sick leave. And press 4 if you don't have enough information to make an informed decision right now. So once again, the 4 options are: press 1 if it's very important, taking away sick leave is very important to you and you want to fight to keep your sick leave benefits. Press 2 if it's somewhat important to you, but you are open to negotiating on sick leave. Press 3 if you're not concerned about changes to sick leave. And press 4 if you don't have enough information to make a decision right now. Okay, I'm going to go to Jeff Benny now. Jeff's going to talk to us about the impact of Bill C-4, the impact it's going to have on your health and safety on the job. Jeff, I understand that these changes can put lives at risk, so I think it would be interesting to have you tell us a little more about that.
Thanks, Gabby. Basically, when the changes in Bill C-4 relating to health and safety, when we look at them, basically they concentrated on the work refusal process. That is the right of workers to refuse dangerous work or refuse work that would constitute a danger to them. And the main area that was changed was the actual definition of danger. Previously, a danger was defined as any existing or potential hazard or condition or any current or future activity that could be expected to cause injury or illness, whether or not the injury or illness occurred immediately. And this was a major provision of the definition of danger. This has all been removed and replaced with a definition that says that any danger is any hazard or condition or activity that could be expected to be an imminent or serious threat to the life or health of a person exposed. So what this means now is that instead of a worker being able to take a serious look at something they're being told to do by their boss and decide whether or not it's a good idea or that could hurt me, they practically have to put themselves in harm's way before they have the right to refuse that work. So in other words, they could actually be injured before they have the right to refuse that work. And the other thing that was removed from the definitions of danger is danger also used to mean any exposure to a hazardous substance that was likely to result in a chronic illness or damage to the reproductive system in either a man or a woman, which means that people could exercise their right to refuse if they were going to be exposed to carcinogens like asbestos That has now been removed from the definition of danger, thereby weakening further a worker's right to refuse.
Thanks very much, Jeff. That was National Health and Safety Officer Jeff Benny. I'm going to give you the results now from our second poll question. Well, I don't know if you're surprised or not, but 80% of people on the phone say that sick leave is very important and that you want the union to fight to keep your sick leave benefits. 14% say it's somewhat important but are open to negotiating sick leave. We've only got 1% out there who are not concerned about changes to sick leave, which is no surprise at all. 5% say you don't have enough information to make a decision right now. And I suspect that among those 5%, and it's the same 5% as on our first poll who are saying they don't have enough information, this may be your first contact with the union. This may be the first time you're engaged in a union activity, and we all want to give a particular welcome to those of you who have stayed on the line to hear from your union. So we're going to go to another question now. We have Mark in St. John's. Mark, go ahead with your question.
Facilitating this event. I just had a suggestion and maybe a little bit of a question with the traction that the environment issues have in the public right now, and I'm referencing the Fifth Estate article the other night regarding the attack on science. I think we need to ratchet up a bit of that because it has traction and sympathy and empathy with the public. So we need to really plug that into our campaign. Great work that we're all doing, and you guys especially. But I think we need to really take advantage of the public that are on sides with the attack on public science. And it even extends to the tar sands and angles and that we can get in on there. So I welcome your comments on that. Thank you.
Hi, Mark. It's Robin, and I thank you for all of the work that you've done. We certainly have put science on our radar screen. If you go to the Alliance Executive Committee blog posting, you'll see that I just did a blog on wanton conservative vandalism, and I was very serious about it because, quite frankly, this is a government that is taking all of our science data that we've collected over, many, many, many years, and they're burning it, they're throwing it away. My God, scientists are trying to, gather up their books and hang on tight to them for all of their data. This is the same government, of course, that, they got rid of the long gun registry, they got rid of the long form census. So we need to stick together on this. I know in the Atlantic there's been great work done around Save Our Sciences. I myself was very thrilled to be out there and be part of in St. Andrews, part of the photo op, if you will, where the plane came over and we formed a human SOS. So, it is on our radar screen. We'll work with our components, more specifically Union of Environment Workers, who, of course, are very involved with the environment, and we'll look to them for guidance and pushing this envelope forward, because I believe that the public is really starting to stand up and say, what is going on? It's not just the tar sands, it's the gutting of the Fisheries Act, it's the streams. You name it, this government is doing it. So I look forward to working with all of you collectively to put an end to this.
Thanks, Robin. Going to go to a question from Keith. Keith, can you go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, thank you, Gabby. I have a question concerning this TC bargaining unit essential services agreement. During the course of bargaining, there was actually an essential services agreement negotiated with that bargaining unit, and I know Bill C-4 came in, I believe, after that. I'm just wondering how it affects that particular bargaining team or bargaining unit, as I do not believe the other bargaining units have one in place.
Hi, Keith. This is Julie. How it will C4 is affecting those essential services agreements that were in place, pretty much bluntly, I'll put it, they're pretty much in the garbage. In terms of the legislation, it's now designated position. And as I said earlier, if 80% or more are designated, they will be they won't be able to strike or take strike action. It will be arbitration route that will be the thing. So what happens to those ESA? They're pretty much something of the past.
So dead. All right. Thanks, Julie. Got a question from Kevin in Fredericton. Kevin, if you're there, go ahead.
Yes, I am. Some time ago, the HP classification received a raise about 2005 and 2006. About 40%. They did an independent study to realize how much we are below the private sector, so they wanted to bring us in line. So at that time, they gave us a 19 or 20% raise, and they were supposed to give it to us on the next collective agreement when it was up for bargaining. And that didn't happen, so I was wanting to know what the union was going to do for us to make sure that we get what we were promised.
Well, it's Robin, and I'll answer you with that. Right now, irrespective of Bill C-4, we're going ahead with collective bargaining just the way that we plan to always do, which is we will have our bargaining conferences, we will review our demands, we'll elect our teams, and then, we'll contact the employer and tell them that we're ready to negotiate. We're not going to let Tony Clement and this government bully us. We are going to stick to our guns. We're going to do the best representation and the best negotiations that we can. We're going to inform our members about what's taking place at the table and elsewhere so that we are a unified front. I know that they've disbanded the CARS, it's called, and it has to do with the compensation advisory board. It's the and I've got the name of it incorrect, so don't anybody go looking it up. But it has to do with compensation, and it has to do with the studies, and it has to do with our comparators. But quite frankly, we have the wherewithal to do that research ourselves. We will certainly do that research. We will go to the table. We will represent our members to the best of our ability, and our members should back their union to the best of their ability, because collectively, if we work together, we will beat them down.
Thanks, Robin. I've got a question from Suzanne in Groverton. Suzanne, if you're there, go ahead, ask your question.
Hi. I was just wondering if you could speak a little more about how sick leave provisions within our collective agreements will be affected in the next round of bargaining. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is, would it be completely wiped out or would it be reduced? And could this happen right now during our current negotiations? Because, for example, I'm with CFIA and we've been sort of stalled at the table for 2 years, and I'm wondering could this take place right now?
Hi, it's Robin speaking. And first of all, if you're with CFIA, we're trying to get back to the table, obviously, but no, it can't affect you right now because you've already had your Public Interest Commission report, so that whole process is done. So for other individuals, though, as we enter into collective bargaining, and at some point in time, CFIA will get a collective agreement and they will have their national bargaining conference, and we will go into collective bargaining. But at this point in time, it'll be the Treasury Board units. And quite frankly, Tony Clement has said for the last year that he wants to take away sick leave. He has publicly said during Public Service Week, he announced that we were all slackers, that we are on the internet all day long, and that we take more sick leave than anybody else. He also introduced, or is trying to introduce, performance management because not enough individuals get fired from the federal government versus the private sector. So I've had discussions face to face with Tony Clement, and I have told him that we're not giving up our sick leave. It is in our collective agreement. We negotiated it. It's the foundation of our collective agreement, and that it won't go without a fight. So it's all of us together that needs to fight this government to keep the sick leave, because you'll hear stories out there about new employees, they don't have sick leave, this and that and the next thing. I have had discussions not just with our membership, but with the bargaining agents of the National Joint Council, and I can tell you that we are all together, we're all on the same page, and we are all going to protect sick leave for our membership. And all of our membership should back their leadership and work together to save their collective agreements.
Thanks, Robin. I've got a question from Wayne. Wayne, if you're still on the line, if you could please go ahead, ask your question.
Hi, Gabby. Hi, Gabby.
Yes, Wayne.
Hi, this is Brother Wayne Kelly from Greenwood, Nova Scotia, 80403. My question is to anyone there. How do we involve as shop stewards to get others involved, our brothers and sisters who really don't think we can prevent the changes that are about to take place?
Thanks, Wayne. It's Jeannie. How are you this evening? One of the things that we have to keep on doing is the one-on-ones, the face-to-face meeting with the membership. And I know that there's many members out there who sometimes are a bit disillusioned about what we've done within the labor movement. But in the Atlantic, that we have done some really great campaigns. Even if you look at some of the stuff we did around the veterans, we've been out there to the forefront, now in the media. We talk shows with Todd Vino. I really believe that one of the things that we got to do is never give up on the membership. We should encourage them to be out to local meetings, talk about some of the grievances and the fights that we have won when we talk about pay equity. We have done some really great work, and I would say to you, never give up and keep on doing the one-on-one. If you look on the pledge campaigns that we've got done here in the Atlantic region, we are out in the forefront on that because our members really believe that the union is there not only for fighting for our rights, but also to protect the rights of workers. So I would say keep on doing what we've been doing in the past and do the one-on-ones with people and never giving up.
Great, Jeannie, thanks. Miriam in St. John, if you go ahead and ask your question. Hello.
Hi. Hello. Yes, I had a question in regards to the health and safety refusal of work being affected with Bill C-4, and I just want to make sure I fully understand this. So it was revised in terms of what they consider danger. It would have to be an immediate risk. So if, for example, you're in a building and there's asbestos and it's been identified, but as a minimum, then people would not have the right to refusal of work, and they would have to be, exposed for a long period of time until, Platt, you're at the hospital, they acknowledge the fact that you have been poisoned with asbestos, and then they will take action on that. Am I understanding this right?
Basically, what the definition says is that the threat to your life or health has to be imminent or serious. Well, imminent obviously means it has to be something that happens right away. Asbestos has a latency period of up to 30 years before a potential cancer may develop. So it's not going to be an imminent threat to life or health. Is it serious? The government officials argue that that's covered by the word serious. But why make the change? We had it covered. We had it covered under the definition previously when we said that an exposure to hazardous substance that's likely to result in a chronic illness was a danger. They've changed it. So you don't make changes without a reason. And so we're saying that, this appears to us to mean that chronic type of illnesses are no longer covered.
Thanks, Jeff. Madonna, if you're there, go ahead, ask your question.
Thanks, Gabby. My question was, what are the restrictions with regards to members speaking out in the public against Bill C and other pieces of legislation?
Hi, Madonna. It's Robin. Hope all is well. Everyone signs, their code of ethics, but we were just speaking about that today, and it's a good job that you asked the question because we're going to issue again the 10 points in terms of being able to speak out, because you can speak out. I think that this government is trying to silence people. They're trying to gag you by threatening you, and you can go to rallies, you can go to your own MP, and you can say to your MP, what you're doing is wrong. You have every right to do that, and you have every right to put a sign on your lawn, and you have every right to go door knocking for candidates of your choice, and you have every right to be at rallies, to be with Jeannie anywhere where she calls upon folks to speak out. So I know that this government, and through Treasury Board and through the employers, have been trying to say that we can't. But we have won that right in the courts, and we're going to fight it to the nth degree because they cannot silence us. We will not let them silence us.
Thanks, Robin. Going to do another quick poll while we're just sorting out some more questions. So here's what we want you to think about. The latest budget implementation bill allows for virtual inspectors and monitoring in an effort to reduce in-person visits by health and safety inspectors, and as you heard earlier, also changes the definition of danger. So what we want to know is, how concerned are you about health and safety on the job as a result of these changes? So listen to these three options. Press 1 if you're very concerned that these changes will put your health and safety and that of your coworkers at risk. Press 2 if you're somewhat concerned that these changes will put your health and safety and that of your coworkers at risk. Press 3 if you don't feel that these changes will have much, if any, impact on the health and safety of you and your coworkers. So once again, the three options are: press 1 if you're really concerned that these changes are going to put the health and safety of you and that of your coworkers at risk. Press 2 if you're somewhat concerned. And press 3 if you don't feel these changes are going to have much impact at all on health and safety in your workplace. Okay, thanks. We're going to go to Deborah. Deborah, if you're there, if you could ask your question, please.
Do you mean Debbie?
I've got Deborah, who I believe had a question about sick leave. I'll try one more time if Deborah's there. Hang on a sec.
Or can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Thanks for calling.
Okay, it's Deborah, and I'm in Halifax, and I wanted to support the sister who was speaking about sick leave, and to also mention to be strong, to hang in there. I've been with CFIA for 25 years. I'm sorry I ever went. It was not as bad as it is now, because now management are individually harassing people for sick time. Now, 20 years ago, I didn't need to have sick time. I have recently come into some instances where my health has been affected, and I periodically have had to take some. And they've tried to back me in the corner to tell me what I am not entitled to. And the last time I told them, put it in writing, and I'm taking it to the union. And I haven't heard from them since, but life hasn't been a picnic. So all I'm saying is, be prepared to get tough and stand up for what you know you have fought for with your union.
Thank you, Deborah. It's Robin, and I just jumped right in because I really appreciate your comments. It is our membership does need to be tough. I've been a union member for 33 years, and I can tell you that when it gets tough for us up there, our members are right there every step of the way. So we will fight the government about the sick leave. I ask you if that you're having any kind of hassles in the workplace. You've got some excellent stewards. You've got excellent local connections. You've got staff in the regional offices. You've got staff in your component offices. So if we work together and we start filing those grievances and we start fighting them, I think that soon enough they'll be backing off. So I thank you for the courage of your convictions to hang tough.
Thanks, Robin. And I've got Peter in Antigonish. Peter, go ahead.
Hi there. How are you? Can you hear me?
I certainly can. I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, good. It's almost comment, and I'll follow it by a little question. But it's regarding communications. One was with membership. I still find that there's still some lack of communications with members. Speaking with other members in our area, that they're not always aware of what's going on. And I know communication's a two-way thing where there's some responsibility on their part. that has improved lately, which is good. So that's a step forward. And the other communications is with public. In the court of public opinion, I'm not sure we're winning. There's usually a little bit of a slight against public service employees in terms of, wasted tax dollars and that sort of perception that seems to exist, and that's an uphill battle for us. And I'm going to give you a little example here. When Clement came out, I think it was in September, and attacking our sick leave and giving these outrageous figures of our misuse of sick leave, and also in terms of our golden pensions that he cited, which are not realistic as well. Well, those comments lasted in various news forum for, I think it was 2 or 3 days, and there was no rebuttal. And so we sort of have to strike while the iron's hot and, get some information out there. So I guess my question is, we really, in terms of stepping up our communications with the public, it's expensive, but I think it's something that needs to be done. So my question is then, what is the PSAC looking at doing to improve communications, both with membership and with the public?
Thanks, Peter. It's Jeannie, and you are right. There's some things that we can do different and improve on. I wish we owned the media, because if we owned the media, I dare say that they would probably be, telling our stories. We have been out, though. It's just that sometimes the media doesn't report our stories. We've had lots of op-eds. We've done press conferences, press releases, letters to the editor. On our website, we've done the media scan. But yes, there's always ways to improve. We've also band together with other 17 unions to do some television ads that we're hoping that will, reach out to the general public on the work we do as public service workers to make sure that we provide a quality service to all Canadians. And thank you for your question. And you are right. We shall improve the communication as much as we can, and that's our commitment to you and to others on the line.
Thanks very much, Jeannie. I'm really sorry that we couldn't take everybody's calls. We've almost come to the end of the time that we have for this. But once again, if you have any further questions or comments, or if you want to leave your questions or ideas about something that wasn't addressed tonight in tonight's town hall, you'll have a chance to leave a message at the end of the call. So I'm going to give you the final poll results very quickly. 62%. Not surprising, 62% are very concerned that changes in Bill C-4 are going to affect health and safety in the workplace. 29% are somewhat concerned. 9% don't feel the changes are going to have much impact on health and safety in the workplace, maybe indicative of the workplace, but I think these are the kinds of percentages we expect to hear with the dramatic and scary changes that you find in Bill C-4. Robin, what are your thoughts on what PSAC members in the Atlantic had to say tonight?
Well, thanks, Gabby, and thank you to each and every one of you for being on the call. I think we've tried this in several regions now, and I think it's kind of it's good to be sitting at home in your living room and being able to talk with your union and not having to be driving to a union meeting. I certainly enjoyed the questions that were presented tonight, and I know that there's a lot of you that would have liked to have asked questions. For us here at the national level, I have to say that I'm really proud of the work that all of the members are doing in the region. The We're All Affected campaign is really coming together. The Atlantic is doing fantastic in terms of the one-on-one and having the pledge card signed. I want to also say to you that we're involved in the broader labour movement. You have to remember that we are an affiliate of the Canadian Labour Congress. They've had many ads out. You've probably seen the Sunny ads, or I'm hoping that you have. And that's about showing that labour is more than picket lines, because Canadians seem to think that that's all that we do, when in fact we ensure good collective agreements. We ensure that the rights that we have as unionized workers also benefits non-unionized workers. So together, I think that we're a pretty powerful force. I want to thank Julie and Jeff for being with us and answering your questions. It's always good to have expert staff with us. And I want to give a big thank you to Jeannie for all of the work that she does in the Atlantic region. And I'll turn it over to Jeannie for probably the last words.
Thanks, Robin. And you are correct. We have really great members in the Atlantic region. We have great staff that's able there to assist us to be the union we are. You know, unions are a force for positive change, and I know that we have done some great work in the Atlantic. We continue to do great work. You know, just the fact that we had over 3,100 members in the Atlantic region on this call tonight shows that there's a need to have another telephone town hall. The interest is there, and it's obvious that the fight is there. You know, we've got a challenge. That challenge is coming up with collective bargaining. We have to be all on the same page, and we have to be united, because it's not about bargaining at the table, but it's also